Hi, welcome. So, this video is about C programming languages. So, in this course, we will turn around every corner of this C programming language. We assume the viewer to be an absolute beginner. As a result, we're going to start from the very basic and progress up there. So C happens to be one of the most common yet popular but powerful languages you'll ever encounter. It's simple, very simple as compared to other languages, but it's yet still one of the most powerful languages in the era of computing. Honestly, you don't need too much of a programming background to learn this C language, but then again, a little bit of experience always comes in handy. So, one of the first question that anyone will think about is what is a programming language, right? Let that C sit aside. What comes first is a programming language. So, a programming language is basically a medium, or simply say a technique, using which you actually communicate with a computer. Right? Computer don't understand English or French or Japanese. Right? It understands zeros and ones only. So to communicate with the computer, we need some sort of medium, some sort of techniques. That's what we call a computer language. Now you'll always find that typical definition that a computer language is a set of instructions and blah blah blah. I won't say that's incorrect, but if you are new to programming, computer languages is a medium. That's it. See, now you'll think that why should we understand or why should we learn a computer language? What's its need? Right? We always do something with a purpose. Right? Action without purpose is useless. So a computer language has its own importance to learn, because say when you are using your mouse, say to click or to open a browser, what is actually happening? When you are clicking on that icon, hundreds of lines of code is being executed behind the scene. That is very vital to understand if you are looking to get into the development of IT industries, development of codes. So one of the basic languages you can start off with is the C language. Why am I saying this? Is because you don't actually need to have too much of a programming skills back with you to start coding in C. So you can start learning your programming skills from here only, build up your knowledge base. So what you need, these are the three terms that you will need to code in C. The first one is a text editor. Second one is a compiler. The third one, you actually don't need it for the C programming language, but I've written it. I'm going to explain it a bit just for the sake of understanding what are the other two terms. Now the first one is quite simple, a text editor. Any sort of word processing software, say Microsoft Word or any notepad, anything like that is you can consider under that. Now the compiler is our main focus. So what a compiler is, it's actually a program. You can call it as a program that simply translates what I am writing in English characters to something that the computer can understand. Because as I said, computer doesn't understand English, right? It understands 0 and 1. That's it. But again, we humans don't understand zeros and ones. So there has to be someone who knows both the languages, the language of zeros and ones and the language we human use to speak. That's the one we call as a compiler or an interpreter as well. Say I want to ask the computer that please computer add two numbers 5 and 6. Now computer don't understand what's 5, right? Or 6 or plus. It has its own 0 1, that's binary representation of all that stuff. So who is going to translate my message in a form that the computer can understand? That's the compiler or the interpreter, right? So a compiler, or simply say an interpreter, is a program that translates a high level language. What's a high level language? The language which we are going to use to code, write the codes, right? So that's the high level language which we are going to use to write different codes. So what it is doing, it's converting that high level language into a language which can be understood by the computer system, that is machine understandable form. So a compiler or an interpreter is a program that translates high level language to a machine understandable form. Done. Now the question is, if compiler and interpreter both are doing the same task, how are they different? There has to be a difference, right? They differ on the basis of how they work. Now both are doing the job of translation, right? But the compiler, say I have a program code of say 15 lines, right? The compiler is gonna read all the 15 lines and translate that all at once. But what the interpreter will do, it will first read the first line, convert, ask the computer to perform that task. Again, it will read the second line, convert, ask the computer to perform that, and so on. Okay, these things might turn up a bit vague at this point of time, but when we start to code, this will get a little bit more clear. So we basically need a text editor and a compiler. That's it. Interpreter is not we consider for a C language, right? Okay. So two different things, text editor and a compiler. So it's better to use one composite environment instead of two different software modules or programs, what you call. So that's what we are using. We will be using, that's an IDE. It stands for an integrated development environment. What is it? It's simply a software environment or suite. What it does, it provides a combination of a text editor, a compiler, a debugger, and several other stuffs. So it's gonna help us in writing and executing code all in one interface. So several IDEs are there. What we will be using in this course is Developer C++. It's an abbreviation of dev. You can simply search it on Google and download and install. just from there, and there you go, download button. Click it, download it, and install that. Simple. Okay, so that's how it looks after the installation is done. So today we will have a first look on the C programming language. See, there are several things that needed to be discussed before we start actually writing the codes, but what we are focused is to explain things as we write codes. That is a far better way to understand the logic behind each and every statement. So let's start. This is where you need to go, or you can simply go to files, new, and source file. So we have got a huge area to write our codes. So what we will be doing is one of the simplest program will ask the computer to print a message, right? Say hello world. So the first thing you need to do is actually to save the file. I'll name it as say hello dot c. Save. Right, let's start. You can see the name of the file here. Okay, let's begin. I'll explain what it is. Let me just complete the entire thing. Done. Let's save that. Control S. Let's compile. Okay, yeah, you can see no errors, no warnings. So the compilation is done. Nothing odd has happened. So we can now run the code. Yeah, see, hello world, that's our message. That's what we intended to print. Okay, now let me explain. This first line is what you call, basically this one is what you call a preprocessor directive. Now what is a preprocessor directive? It's nothing too much heavy. It's preprocessor. That means before the actual processing of the code starts, some sort of operations need to be performed. That's exactly what it is. We are asking the compiler to include a file whose name is stdio.h. So that's being done before the actual processing starts. That's why preprocessor directive. So what's doing? It's adding the contents of this file to this source code. Now what is this file? These type of files, you see the extension to be .h. Now these are called header files. header files. What are they? So the header files are simply files which contains some codes. Now what are the codes? I'll tell you. But first look at the other part. Int main. Now for now, just remember this is the structure of a C program. You have to include this. You have to write this. Now what is this? Main with those braces. It's simply a function. Now what a function is, we'll discuss that later, but for now just remember that this is one of the most important function in C language, the main function. Why I'm saying this is because the main function is from where the actual processing starts. Right, when we are clicking here on run, after this include operations is done, the compiler calls the main function. Simple words, the operations under this main function, you can see these braces, this is the opening and this is the closing brace. So that indicates that these statements are in or within this function main. So after these include operations are done, the main function or the main method is called. That is, the operation under this main function is performed or executed. That's it. Now forget about this. We will discuss these in detail when we talk about functions. Again, same with this, we will discuss when we talk about functions. But for now, this statement and these along with these braces have to be there whenever you write a C program. So you can simply say this happens to be the skeleton of any sort of C program, right? Remember that. Now what I'm doing is we are adding a statement here, printf. Again, printf is a function. I'll tell you what a function is later, but for now just remember this syntax. What it will do, it will print a message, hello world, right? Note the syntax, in braces, then again within quotes the message, hello world. Right now this printf, what it is doing, it is printing the message whatever is written in there. Now how the compiler will understand that this printf will be printing the message? Who is telling the compiler? This include file, stdio.h. The operations that this printf is going to perform is written in there. What is written? It's, in simple terms, it's written that whenever you encounter a printf statement, just print whatever is in there. Simple. Things will get a bit more clear when you discuss functions, but these are the basics. You have to remember these. because at the starting point you can't actually get into what are functions, how to define and all that stuff. You have to remember the basic skeletons, few syntaxes that are important for any sort of C program. Right. So we'll end up this session here, and let's see what we can come across in the next video. Probably we will be dealing with the data types and variables, the basic of any programming language. So till then, bye bye.